Let's start the story here. I'm a big fan of the bullet journal. For 5 years straight, I've been bullet journaling every single day. All my plans, tasks, and countless habit trackers live there. There I plan my future, track my present, and keep memories of the past. Well, my notebook is my first brain. It is pretty much always on me. Going out for a stroll, working in the office, and even in the bathroom. You could say I am a little bit addicted to my notebook. But, in all honesty, it's a really great tool, except one single downside. It takes time. At least for me. A lot of time to sketch out my monthly layouts the way I want them to be. And much less, but still plenty of time to keep them fresh and content. And because of this single flaw, I almost broke up with my beloved journal last autumn. It turned out that working at Google is not a piece of cake. It's more like a die-hard marathon. My schedule exploded, leaving me tiny time slot for my personal daily activities. And I started battling out to have enough time for bullet journaling. It just became too bulky and stopped fitting my life here in London.
What would you do if you find yourself stuck in the relationship that you are no longer enjoying? One of the possible answers is to break up and run away. Another option is to spin around and look for a root cause. And I decided to go the second path and reassess my bullet journal rules. How I'm using my notebook and, more important, why I'm doing it this way and not another way around.
Thus, somewhere in January, my 5 new bullet journal rules appeared on the stage. As a cherry on the top, I used to spend several days sketching out my new spreads for upcoming month. Using my new rules, it takes less than 2 hours now. It completely changed the perspective and tripled the value and magnitude of the bullet journal for me.
What these rules are? Let's take a look.
Rule number 1. No cover.
You heard it right. I stopped sketching out the most artistic page of the bullet journal. The flip side of this beauty is time effort, at least for the one like me who cannot draw fast, even average. Frankly speaking, who cannot draw at all.
How was it before? First, I spent ages scrolling Instagram on the lookout of a new cover idea, comparing, doubting, and estimating whether I could pull it out on paper in a reasonable time, or better seek something else. Second is an attempt to sketch it out. Well, as much as I like to draw theoretically somehow in my head, I completely can't do it in practice on paper. I don't have any skills or talent. I just spent hours sitting still with a pen over the paper, deciding how and where to start, how long the line should be, and then rethink every next line. To the left, or maybe to the right, straight, or curved, thin, or bold, and so on. It is a nightmare, not a joy at all. Several hours later, after struggling and battling with the paper and pen, some drawing that looks far away from the original appeared in the journal. And me, discontented and drained, appeared on the couch, recovering the rest of the day.
And one day a light bulb switched in my head. Who said that it should be exactly this way and not another way around? Why I am following this cult of drawing a cover every single month if it brings me nothing? No decent use yet stress to me.
It seems that I am doing this because I am supposed to by social media. I somehow started following standards set by popular bullet journal YouTubers who created a trend of them. But the thing is, those YouTubers are really good in drawing and enjoying the process. For them, it is an act of expressing themselves in a creative and artistic way. But that is all not true about me. I express my creativity through making videos on YouTube. At least trying to.
And all these thoughts led to one more important question. What is the purpose of this exercise if it does not fill me in with energy and satisfaction? It only eats my time and makes me feel miserable. A cover makes your bullet journal decorated. It's true. But if, and only if, you know and have enough skills to sketch it out. It's definitely not my case. Why can't it be done in a more succinct way? Actually, it can.
Thus, the first rule has appeared. No cover starting from now. I leave the page empty. Just a simple hello phrase somewhere in the middle. And that is all. 30 seconds at most. It is not artistic anymore, yet it is not supposed to be this way. It acts as a divider between months. Nothing more and nothing less. Rule number 2. Limited number of spreads. When I started copycating the popular bullet journal YouTubers by drawing the same spread in my notebook as they did, I actually ended up with a set of pages before assessing their use for me personally. I sketch them out dutifully without reassessing their purpose and value, whether they bring anything useful into my life. Change it, make it better, or it was just a waste of time.
In all honesty, we are heavily formed by social media. Our social feeds populated with never-ending photos of various spreads and trackers. Habit tracker, mood tracker, sleep log, watched movies, read books, you can count on. When we see this or that spread in every other video on YouTube, we begin to think that this is the rule of thumbs. It is a mandatory part of the bullet journal method, and we should have the same. But is it true?
When I paused for a moment and challenged this statement, I was not so sure. Are all these spreads vital? Do they all matter, or are they actually holding me hostage? Do I even want to be doing all these things? We often burden ourselves with unnecessary responsibilities, keep ourselves distracted by so many things we think should be doing.
But the thing is, could be done. Does not mean that it needs to be done. We keep thinking about things just because they are there in our notebooks, not because they mean something to us, bring value or spark joy.
The truth is to ask the right questions and yield honest and candid answers. When I decided to reevaluate all my spreads, what their purpose and influence on my life, whether I need them or they are just an illusion of more intentional life, to my surprise, I shot myself in the foot. More than half of my spreads were crossed out. I failed to find even one meaningful reason to keep them.
And that day I limited the number of spreads to 6. And now they repeat month after month and make my bullet journal very coherent yet boring. But at the end of the day, I'm not doing it for fun. Well, not just for fun. Fun comes along the way, yet last in the list. And the first reason and main reason why I'm journaling is to stay productive and as effective as possible.
Rule number 3. Limited number of formats. Keeping the same track. Having removed more than half of my spreads, I decided to go further and streamline the format of the survivors. Exploring colorful spreads in my Instagram feed every single day, I fell into the trap of trying to run my bullet journal in the same way. I spent hours and hours making it look artistic and beautiful. At some point it just turned out into a blurry mess. And I completely lost the meaning of this notebook. I destroyed its purpose of being a simple and effective tool that I fell in love in the past.
What was my original intention? To have a pretty elaborate illustrated journal? As I did not have any artistic skills, I still do not have any of them now, and was only looking for a productive planning system, I doubted it, and this was a real turn-off for me.
I turned my journal into a highly maintenance notebook. A monster that started stealing my time and overwhelmed me with things that I didn't even remember being committed for. Could I spend all these hours more productive? How many important tasks could I cross out instead of drawing them? And do I actually need so complex format to keep track of simple things?
And all these questions pull back the curtain and reveal the fact that my journal was the main thief of my time, my partner in crime, my main reason why I could not cope with all my tasks. Because I was sketching them out in this notebook instead of accomplishing them. As if I was sketching my life out instead of living it. Your notebook doesn't have to look good. It's not about how it looks. It's all about the way how it works and helps you in your daily grind.
Thus, I decided to stick with a few formats for all my spreads. And now repeat them month after month. Yes, it becomes even more boring. Yet I like its look and feel even more. It is so easy on the eyes and requires the bare minimum time for keeping it fresh and content.
Does it also mean that I never changed the format? Well, no. It'd be silly to stick with something that did not work before. In other words, if the format is working, I keep it. If it stops working, I change it. By this time you should already recognize that all my new spreads are grey colored, and this is the result of rule number 4, just one color.
In the past, at some moment on my bullet journaling journey, I established a personal rule. Next month layout should have had a new color board, no repeats. Meaning that every month I had to choose a new set of 3 to 4 brush pens from my box. It was super tedious to look through my infinite number of pens and select somehow matching together colors, without being repeated. How did I came to this, Jesus?
And once again I decided to reassess my bullet journal rule. Do I need it to be more productive? Do all these colors help me complete my tasks? I doubt this. It seems to be another time waster under my belt that should be eliminated.
I decided to pretend that I did not have that set at all, by keeping a few of the grayscale and locking all the rest in the storage. out of my eyesight. I do not see them, I do not have them.
Could I open the storage and take another brush pen? For sure I could, but this extra hurdle increased the friction, and I was too lazy to do this, so I just stick with the ones that I left behind.
Thus, I make my once colorful bullet journal even more dull. On the other hand, another unseen advantage of this decision is the size of my go-to stationaries. It does not allocate lots of space, requires only a small bag and fit everywhere, simple and smooth. And the last rule, forgiveness.
I need to confess, I am a perfectionist, a black belt perfectionist. Everything around me should be perfect.
Perfectly aligned, perfectly clean and tidy, no mistakes are allowed. In other words, if I made a typo, a curly line instead of a straight one, it ruined everything. I closed a bullet journal and started a new one.
It was a nightmare, and probably the main reason why monthly setup took so long in the past. I literally counted every dot twice,
if not more, to be sure that I was designed the page perfectly, everything fitted in before drawing a first line. It was not easy to switch this mindset. I'm still fighting through the pages with typos and scribbled words, convincing myself that it is okay to have not perfectly neat and clean notebook. It is life. Nothing is perfect here.
I keep saying to myself that journal is a tool, not an exam paper. The world won't stop spinning around if I forget about the offset, draw the line incorrectly, or make a typo. Actually, no one even discovered this.
In a few weeks, I won't open this page and probably completely forget about this mistake in a month. Thus, much less struggles and battles, no more workaround plans or extra expenses for buying new journals. If a mistake happens, I leave it as it is. Look for a minute, excel, and move on.
As a result, several days before transformed into 2 hours now, with more fun and less stress. It still keeps changing over time, but at a very slow pace, and what is more important, driven by spreads themselves. Now all changes are triggered from the inside, not from the outside as it used to be.
It may look boring, it still works and helps me stay productive, but who is seeing it except me? And the most important thing, I think it becomes even more helpful than it was before. Less distractions of unusual formats, less pages to find a required one, less notebooks for a year, simple and effective as it is designed to be.
At the end of the day, you should always be by your side. Choose what is best for you, what helps and makes your life better. Build your own bullet journal. But keep in mind one more thought.
I always say do what works for you. For me, it's...
There's no right or wrong way to do this.
Well,
or is there?
Yeah, I would say that there is a wrong way of doing it. And the wrong way of doing it is like not every notebook is a bullet journal, right? It's like a scrapbook isn't a bullet journal. Can you scrapbook in your bullet journal? Yes. But the big idea of the bullet journal is that it's moving you towards something at all time. It's helping you get somewhere.